So today, for this talk, I wanted to introduce Toddler, and for this introduction talk, I've set up an agenda that will include intro overview of Toddler, like in general, what are good things and what are maybe risky things in the framework, not the framework, the library. So I want after that we're going to create a project using Toddler template to set up a small project and have a quick overview of the folder structure in that project. And live coding walkthrough will include building an app layout, routing, and example list with that is a list component with example date, not data, but layout, and interestalization. And finally, we will run this application on Android simulator to show that it is possible to code web application, use same code to code web application and deploy it on Android devices, that is mobile devices in general. So Toddler. What can I say about Toddler? So I'm going to start with what Toddler is and what Toddler is not. So Toddler is bigger than it looks. It has a pretty big it is a pretty big library, but it is not. I wouldn't call it a framework because it won't force you to do anything in a certain way. You can use parts of Toddler, but you don't have to use only Toddler. You can use JavaScript as the same way that you used to, and you can use Toddler batteries if you like them. Toddler is focused on building front-end components, not application logic. So Toddler is more onto front-end side. So, it has a lot of hooks and functions and components that will help you to take control of your layout and to know how to position yourself on the screen, and will help you with some common components like tables, which are hard to design and hard to maintain, but at some point they have almost same functionality, except you have to style that. Same goes for drop downs and multi-selects and pop-ups and notifications and tooltips and stuff like that. So screen aware and layout control freak, that's an overstatement, but it's not far from truth. I've mentioned some of the stuff before. We will go through details in the walkthrough. And Toddler is clear about internationalization and number currency date formatting. So Toddler is using Google Clojure code that would cover most of known languages and formats for formatting numbers and currency and displaying currencies and displaying date formats. Do you want to format your date in a short date or a long date, or do you want to format on only date or only time and things like that? It is Toddler includes a router. So inside the library there is a routing logic. We will go through the routing logic in walkthrough, so I won't be detailed about it at this point. And Toddler is opposed full body scroll. So what does that mean anyway? During my career, there were a lot of times when with interactions with developers, they would design a layout and they would create a sidebar on the left side, and they would set a margin for content area, and similar goes for header and components like that. And if you resized it or moved something a little bit, it would change, and you would lose time trying to smash in the CSS layout techniques. But the thing is that you don't have to do that. You can just take a viewport and take control of what you will display at what position. Don't be afraid of positioning elements in absolute order. Absolutely. So slice display the way you want, and put components on different parts. And inside those components, use styling, do whatever you want. Just don't do the full body scroll. Not horizontally, not vertically. Don't do that. So Toddler is Toddler's ambition is to become web, mobile, and desktop available. This is going. The strategy at the moment is to use Tauri to achieve this. And at the end of this talk, we will build a mobile app on Android simulator. And that is all Tauri credits, not Toddler. It's just using Tauri. You could use probably any JavaScript framework. I just haven't heard that Clojure community is going in that direction, so I'm mentioning it here. What Toddler is not. Toddler is not a state management library, so it doesn't have opinion on how you will distribute your state to your children from root components, or how events will be sent and what will trigger what, and what should happen if this happens. It doesn't care. So you're free to do your thing for state management. Same goes for data client. Toddler is not a data client. It doesn't know where you will get your data or what technology will you use to get the data. Will it be GraphQL or REST endpoint or EQL or something else? And it is not a style dictator. It doesn't force you to use some special styling. So you can use any technology that you've used so far. I would suggest that you use shadow CSS because it provides all the benefits and no trade-offs for building styles in CSS. And that's it about Toddler in general. So next thing what I wanted to discuss was code base. So code base might be scary, might be frightening, because Toddler itself, it has 8,000 lines of code. That's a lot of functions and a lot of hooks and minimal components. So Toddler has minimal components, mostly hooks and functions. But that is not as much code as you would think when you take into account that it is covering a lot of features like routing, internationalization. It takes into account layout, provides out-of-the-box notifications, out-of-the-box table management, pop-ups, which are hard to do. You have a clear approach on date and on grid, and head is for controlling what's in your HTML head, and scrolling. So this includes a lot of batteries, and you don't have to use any of them. But why not? For most of these cases, you would use JavaScript library like router DOM, React router DOM, or for date thing you would use Moment, or for grid probably something else. For tables, you're using what was it called? I can't remember, but actually most of these features are usually consumed from JS libraries, and I just wanted to provide a common alternative for not using JS for these things, because they are really common and every application needs them and every application operates on top of these features. So Toddler is 8,000 lines of code. GraphQL I won't mention, but it's no dependency, and it's just generates GraphQL queries. It doesn't send them, or it's just something that you can use for building queries, subscriptions, and mutation strings. Back to the Toddler user interface. Toddler user interface is a collection of components that are ready to use. You can use, you can see them in Toddler showcase if you go to the Toddler repo and follow the link to the showcase, which includes fields, tables, calendar, dropdown, multi-select model. It has minimal logic, no hooks. It's just collection of components that use Toddler and styling to provide default components. And it is 4,000 lines of code. I will talk a little bit later about some other usages of Toddler UI. And the third thing is, that is fourth thing, is Toddler icons. So during my career, I've we often use icons from Material, from Font Awesome, from other sources. And if you wanted to build an application and package it, you would have to use some JS package to if you wanted to use some icons from JS package, then that whole package would be bundled with your application. That would bloat your application size, and it was hard to. And the only alternative was to pick the icons that you liked and extract them to your source code and then use them to reduce the package size. If Toddler offers you icons by doing the heavy lifting. So it actually is a collection of icons that are picked up from repo, Git repos for Material, UI, and Font Awesome. It is scanned, files are scanned, SVGs are extracted, and from these extracted SVGs, Helix components are created. So it's a huge, because it has hundreds of icons, it is a huge jar file. Toddler icons are packaged as a separate jar. It is a huge jar file with huge code base, but Clojure compiler will shake everything that you don't use, and if you will probably won't use every icon available, so you can expect minimal. You pay for what you use. You don't pay for what you don't use. Okay. Next, I wanted to talk about the goal of this walkthrough. We are going to build an application, let's say an application that has a navigation header and two buttons. One will be for internationalization, and second one will be for opening this menu. And in the center is content area, where we will show some list items that simulate user info or something like that. So let's go to the coding part. Okay. What I wanted to, building a Toddler project, you can call this just a second. You can actually start developing with Toddler without downloading anything, or you just start with this command. You can find it on Toddler repo. It will actually pull jar from Clojures and copy content of that copy content of that jar file into a new folder that you call. That for these purposes we will call a meetup demo. So let's see what will happen. Okay. We're waiting for npm probably to install its packages. And just a second, I have to hide this. Bruno, do you mind if I ask you, can you see the screen and everything is working okay?
Yeah, everything is fine.
Okay, thank you. So let's go to the meetup demo folder that we created. I'm going to show you the folder structure. In the README file, you can find instructions how to start development, how to run a release for Tauri, what you have to install, and how to develop desktop Tauri, desktop Toddler application on top of Tauri, and iOS and Android, and stuff like that. Let's start the application itself. Start development. Okay. This will have to be a little bigger. For Toddler template, created this meetup demo main file that will just a second, just see if everything is working. Okay, so application is built. Okay, so this is the landing screen that you will see when you create a project from template. It will show you a link to the showcase where you can find everything about Toddler and the demonstration of Toddler functionalities and features. If you want to document your app, you can intro, and you can actually welcome to Toddler meetup. That you can actually change and work with this MD files to play and document your thought process, or if you want to test some component and you can add it into your documentation and stuff like that. That's just for development purposes for now. Changing things and things like that. I won't go too much into details of this landing screen because it is here to be removed, because you want to build your own application, not this. Okay, so let's see now. What do you get at the start? In the start, you will get an application that has a lot of wrapped functionalities from Toddler. One of this is router, so it comes wrapped in a router, and yeah, and I have to emphasize that same as with compose function in Clojure comp, order of execution is reversed. So last wrapper will be first called. So we'll go from the start, that is in the end. We can wrap a router that has a router base, you can define if it is not actually like if your application is not served from root of host, you can add this relative path to the root base, and router will take that into account when computing roots. Next, what is wrapped is our UI components and window provider. Window provider will provide size of the window, so it takes it registers event listener for window resizing, and when the window is resized, that value is put into React context, and it is available for all components. Notification store and pop-up wrap container will create for mounting pop-ups. So this is an element. It is positioned as close as possible to body. It has an Z index. Pop-ups have high Z index, so this ensures that pop-ups will always be displayed. And this Toddler pop-ups element is used by React portal function to show pop-ups as a target. Similar goes for wrap store, wrap locale. Okay, look, wrap locale and wrap theme are almost the same. They use local storage to store value of locale and theme under these keys. So you can see, I can't make this larger, but I hope that you can see that these values are available at local storage at these keys. And the last one is wrap landing page. So landing page is quite important for Toddler router functionality. It expects that you define what is your landing page. In this case, this is the root, and it can be something else. But the point is, if you hit this URL, landing page will walk through your routing tree and find landing that has highest priority. When it finds that landing page with landing node that with highest priority, it will then compose a URL and redirect your browser to that URL. You will experience this in very shortly. Okay, so because I took a large bite and I want to show you a lot of functionality, I had to prepare a walkthrough, and this walkthrough will be available in materials that will be published. It will be a gist on GitHub, which we will go through. So let's go like this. I'll just copy stuff. Okay, so we will create a demo component, and instead of okay, so this won't be practical, but for now let's start with this approach. I've created the demo component. It is wrapped. It has a wrapped link. So this wrap link function is actually going to use this information to link router root, that is a root node, and for Toddler router, and add children, which are these arguments, second argument, to the routing tree. And this wrapper is actually going to render demo component only if router is showing demo, is only if component with demo ID is on routing path. Okay, so let's save it and see what will happen. Okay, so as you can see, we are showing this component, hello from meetup demo. And if I go to root, it will redirect me here. If I go to Gigaboo or some unknown URL, it will still redirect me here. But if I go to docs, which is a valid URL, it will display docs. Okay, so let's go back to the demo page and try to okay, so this is okay. And see what routing tree actually router value is at the moment. So we are at location that has path name demo. We don't have a hash. Origin is localhost. Search query is nothing. If we change something like this, a equals 100 and go there, we will find that search has it picked up a search that it has an argument that is a 100, and this is the routing tree. Routing tree will display. It will not display, but it is used to compute what is visible at what position. So if I specify a segment, then if I want to go to meetup lazy docs, it will include this segment in the final route. This goes all the way up to the root component, root node. Okay. I have a feeling that this might have felt confusing, so I'm going to show you on a little bit more complex example. So let's say that we have demo routes that is a little bit more complex, and we want to add that demo routes to our router. So this should be available. Okay. Now our routing tree is looking a lot bigger. It is mirroring this data that we sent to it, and let's just check if I can go to some other URL that is that is available in routing tree. So let's go to list example, for example. Okay, we are still seeing the hello from demo because demo is on routing path, and it is totally valid to display routing demo. What do I have to say about what else do I need to say about router is that segments are composed. So if you are on the edge, if you're targeting routing node that is at the edge, all segments are combined. That's one important thing. The only thing that is required is ID. So you can have ID no segment. Only thing that is required is ID. So you don't have to specify a segment that would return that this component is rendered if demo is rendered. It doesn't require that you include some other segment. If parent is rendered, then this component is rendered as well. It will return true, like in wrap rendered. Yes, it is rendered. No segment. So this is the component that was node that was added. If you add landing, so as you can see, this is landing priority. If I specify that landing priority is 1, I won't end up at demo. I will end up, just a second. we are using landing demo is not 10. Okay, so let's go from here. We will finish up at docs position because docs lazy is wrapping a link that has landing priority 5. If I say that landing priority is 6, it should render demo. Okay, back to the demo. Great, so I'll stop talking about routing here, because you have a showcase if you want to know more details about root protection and how you can how roots are composed together into routing tree. You can go to that showcase and look for it, or you can contact me on Toddler channel on Slack. What's next? So we want to build this user interface. We have to start with the layout. So I'm going to start by defining components that we want to build. That is, and again, this is all available on Git, and you can pick that file and walk through the same way I'm going right now. Okay, so now we are seeing a few components that we defined, and I'm going to set some constraints on this layout. We want header navigation to be 50 pixels, and menu width will be 200 pixels. So let's start by defining header. Okay, I'm going to copy paste header, and great. Now we have a header. Awesome. And I'll repeat the same for menu and for content. Okay, so each of one of these components is now at appropriate place on the screen. How did we do that? We used absolute positioning and used window dimensions. I've mentioned that application component is wrapping window dimensions provider, so that provider is providing window dimensions, and we are just doing simple math by making header height 50 and full width. Similarly for menu, height is reduced by header height, and width is menu width, and content is reduced by heights is reduced by header height, and width is reduced by menu width. And everything is positioned absolute, and background colors are as specified in this CSS. Okay, let's move on. Menu, content menu. We are going to skip this part, and we are going to build a menu. Okay, to build a menu, we are going to leverage this the fact that we have a routing tree, and this tree is available to us at all time, because router is providing its value through context. So let's add a menu item component that will receive props from. Okay, I'm going to just outside this. We menu item component is expecting actually data from router, that is routing tree. This will be an ID of routing tree node, a segment, and a name, just to display something in a menu. And if there are children, it will call itself. So it's a recursive component. It will call itself for every child property. On click should open ID of a component. So we are using router hook. Use goto as use goto router node with ID. And it will show a name if name is provided in routing node. What do we need to do here? Because menu is not actually showing menu item, it is showing hello from menu. So I'll just change that this doesn't display hello from menu. Instead, it will display a column flex div in flex display with flex column layout, and it will map menu item for every child in a tree, and a tree is context that is returned from router provided by router context, and that would actually mean all this data. Okay, so we are going to render all this data. And voila, we have a menu, and if we click on it, it will go to that router node ID, and if you can see, URL is changing. And if I click on docs, it will go to docs. If I click back, it will go back. It's actually working. It's ugly, but it is working. Okay, moving on. We made a menu. Now we're going to make a list. Okay. Content. So list should be probably somewhere close to content, and we are going to. Okay, so we are showing list example, and now we need to add list items to list example. Let's do that. So what we are going to do here is display list item. List item is actually a row that is aligned in center. It has height of 100 pixels, so it will be one big blue rectangle because background is sky blue 600. And we need to change list example to show list item. So here we are taking a range of 100 numbers, and for each of these numbers we are creating a component with list item of type list item. So let's see what is going to happen. Oh, we have 100 components, but we can't scroll through because we don't have a scroll. So this control comes with a price, and you have to declare what part of your screen is actually overflowing and how will you handle it. So list example is using simple bar, that is only JavaScript dependency that provides consistent scroll bar styling on different operating systems and different browsers. So your scroll will always look the same. That's why Toddler is using it. We need to provide list example with container dimensions. So that simple bar can wrap this content and provide scroll. And for that, we are going to use provider, that is React provider, that will use context from a layout namespace, container dimensions, and it will provide a value of width, that is width. So this is a full content width and full content height. And now we have a scroll. So we can see that there are 100 list items. Okay, if we provide a different width, like 50 and width 100, simple bar would adjust to that. So now we have a really small list item list. Let's stick with full body, full content size. Okay. I'm just going to style a list item so that it looks more practical or just a second. I pasted it on the wrong place. So we need a memo. I'm not going to go into what memo does. You can look it up in React documentation. In short, memo will can provide you a mechanism to control when your component is going to be rendered and when not. You can compare props and stuff like that and decide if component should render in next state, when it gets props or not. In short, so this is a list item with a bit more complex layout. What I wanted to show that here is that it's actually list item row, that is that big blue rectangle is using two sections. First one is user section, like I want user data on left side and I want user actions on right side. Left, so this big blue row, big blue rectangle is using a row to align, to position elements as exploded, so they are like as far as possible from each other. And again, divided onto two different sections, which is a left section and a right section, and right section and left sections are again using some CSS styling to achieve this look. What is important in another thing that I wanted to highlight is that Toddler provides, because it strives to be a layout freak, it provides a hook that will return a reference, and the second value will be width and height, that is the sizing of this reference element. If you attach this reference element to some component, so Toddler use dimensions hook can track the size of that component, it will change this width and height, and you can be aware of your elements at any time, the size of your elements at any time. So you can see here that, I don't know if it is showing, You can see here the dimensions of this big blue rectangle, and this is because we are keeping track of that. It should resize up to 668 pixels, but now it's not changing. It's not re-rendering, and it has a fixed size. When I get below this, it will again cause re-rendering and keep track of that width and height, and you will always know what is the size of target element. Why is this important? Because as I've said, a lot of effort from my experience is put into positioning stuff on the screen, and again, if you're using body scroll or some CSS witchcraft or something like that, that always blows up into in your face. So when you're working with drawers, and you're working with tabs, or you're working with tables, or you're working with this type of elements, or cards, or something like this, usually you have to decide if the size of something, and if the screen resizes, that thing should get smaller, and if that thing gets smaller, you need to know that you have to get that info. So Toddler uses dimensions, uses a resize observer to observe element and notify your component that you have to do something about it if your component is resizing. Not your window, but your component. You can like drag open a drawer, and your left side of the screen can get smaller. You should be aware of that, at least. Okay, so next thing is header. Let's build a header. That these two components will use material outlined menu icon and material outlined translate icon to display on header. Again, we are using row to explode children to move them as far away as possible. So let's see. Okay. Now we can see that there are icons displayed, but they are not actually doing anything. Next, I'm going to build I'll put mobile menu button into life by using reducer. I was going to talk about state in React, and how to control state of parent components through children. I'm not sure if we have the time, so I'll just copy this. Just a second. Where should we go? Mobile menu. Mobile menu button. Let's go here. We need to create context. Let's remove this. Okay, I am going to talk about React and state and stuff, but it is going to be really short. I'll skip some parts. Okay, what is the problem? So when you have a component that is complicated, it has a lot of children, and you pass in the props. That's the easy part. You get the props from the backend, and or you from somewhere else, and this data you distribute it hydrate or whatever term you want to use. you distribute them, those props, to the children. The question is, how can I change the state of a root component from children? And to make a long story short, what is good and what is not good, and what options do you have? I'm going to go to the most complex and challenging. That is the blueprint for challenging situations. You use a React reducer with a multi-method. Multi-method can be defined to dispatch, to have a dispatch function that will receive an action, and based on action type will dispatch to the multi-method that is responsible for that dispatch type. And you can then use that multi-method to have state of your component state, that is reducer state, on as first argument, and received action as a second argument. Your goal in this implementation of this multi-method is to change state. So you can use usual Clojure code to manage your state. The trick is that if you should probably put dispatch function in a context, so that it is available. Dispatch function is available to all children. Dispatch function doesn't change, so context won't change, and this won't cause your children to re-render unnecessarily. Oppose, if you distribute the state from through context, this would be bad. So you distribute state through components, and in each child you define what will you pass through to different children. Then on child at level 2, you can use some event like click or on change or something happened, and I want to call a dispatch function that I received through the context to notify the reducer that that this happened. So you can use props that you received at that node. You can use event values, like if some key was pressed, which key was pressed, or if mouse key was down, you can measure at what position it was key that it was pressed, and stuff like that. So let's talk about let's see if this mobile menu button is now alive. So as I've mentioned, we created the context. It is a dispatch context. We defined the reducer. Action is supposed to tell what type of action it actually is. Based on that value, we will dispatch multi-method to implementation. Depending on if it is unknown, it will register an error in console. If it is known, it will be handled by these implementations. So if we receive action of type mobile menu opened, it should provide a value, and we associate state key with menu opened that will have a value of that was sent in action. A similar goes for toggle mobile menu. It will actually change menu opened true or false. If it was true, it will be false. If it was false, it will be true, and so on. And mobile menu button will use dispatch context to dispatch type of action is toggle mobile menu to header, and header is not providing dispatch, so this won't work. Let's check if this is working. I have to minimize this. and minimize this, because mobile menu button should not be displayed unless we are in mobile layout, and mobile layout will be displayed only if this is smaller than 600 pixels. Okay. So we have a dispatch, and what we mentioned that it won't work. Let's see. Okay, so it is not working because mobile menu button cannot read dispatch from undefined, because header didn't provide any dispatch context, or actually demo didn't provide any dispatch context. So let's change that and make menu opened. As I've mentioned, we are using user hook to with initial state nil, and reducing function is reducer multimethod. We are going to save this, and clicking on this will change the value, but the menu isn't closing, and that is probably because menu doesn't care, because it is always showing it doesn't depend on any property or any value or state that will change its behavior. So we need to tell menu to look for opened prop in received props, and if menu is opened, it should show menu, display menu, and if it is not opened, it should close menu. When we are not at mobile layout, we are always displaying menu. So this is part of the logic. If not mobile, display. If it is mobile, check if it is opened, and if it is opened, display menu. Okay, let's go back to the mobile. I liked it better. Okay, and this is wrong, right? Because content is not full size. So let's change that. Okay, so mobile content should be aware of mobile as well. So mobile equals mobile layout, and if it is mobile, then left side, then we should start immediately on the left side and at position 0, and if it is mobile, then we don't care about menu width. I don't care about it. You can show it on top of this, and it is going to work. You can show it, close it, and things like that. Okay. I think that this is pretty much to swallow, and I was wondering, I have an internationalization to show, but I won't go into details. Again, for more information, you have showcase, and you are welcome to reach me out on Toddler channel on Slack. I'm just going to demo that it's not that hard to do an internationalization. It will be really short. Walkthrough contains a detailed explanation of what is happening at what point, so you can check that out. Okay, local menu. we are going to change the roots and stuff that are going to be, that are internationalization is targeting, adding translations, changing menu items so that menu items in a menu use keyword. When they have a keyword, they will be translated as a name, and changing list items. This is it. So no detailed explanation, just cross fingers and hope that this will work. Okay, it did work. Really short explanation. We are adding translations for keywords. So this keyword has, notice that this is actually a key map namespace, this keyword namespace. So this is a keyword namespace, meet demo user info, and with keys that are default English, Dutch, Portuguese, French, Spanish. This key is then used to translate. So we use this key to translate, and translate is actually a hook from Toddler namespace that that will take locale that is provided by this context, that is provided by this context in this value. So currently French. It will take that value and look up a keyword and do the translation, actually take the value for that keyword and that locale. So let's try and change it. Deutschland. Okay, so if we open a menu, Portuguese, Spanish, French. Okay, looks like it is working. For details, please go through gist. And last but not least, let's try to build this and run it on Android simulator. So we go to Tauri. We have to reverse forward ports so that Android simulator can access our development server, that is shadow development server. So we are going to reverse forward reverse ports and initialize Android development environment and start development using Tauri. iPhone mirroring. This is Android. Okay, it's taking long because it's first run. If you start it after this first run, it will run quite faster. But for first run, it has to build everything from scratch. So what's going on? here we are. I suppose it was installing the application. Okay, let's see. Table example not showing. List example is only valid. Does internationalization work? Yes, it is behaving exactly the same as on mobile. That is on web development, and let's try and change something. So I'm going to change avatar background red 900. Okay, let's close this menu. This is at meetup. This is a gist. It won't work. Okay, so we are changing avatar background red 900. Okay, so we can do mobile development using Tauri. Thanks, Tauri. And thanks to Lilac Town for building Helix. I think that this concludes my presentation. I hope that that you enjoyed it and it wasn't too tedious. It just covers a lot, and I could talk about it for quite a while. And it would be my pleasure if you reached me out on Toddler channel in Slack.